If you've ever wondered why cybersecurity is no longer just best practice, but increasingly a legal requirement, why governments and regulators are now having a say in how software is built, supported and maintained, or what all of this means for PKI digital signatures and trust services, then this episode's for you. I'm Mike Hathaway, Chief Product Officer at Assertia, and welcome to Assertia On, where we explore technologies, regulations and trust frameworks shaping secure digital systems. Today, we're looking at cyber resilience, what's changed, what the EU's doing, how the UK's framework is evolving, why regulators are acting now, how this compares internationally, and what it means in practice for trust platforms. For years, cybersecurity was largely guidance-driven by standards, frameworks and best practice. But the digital world's changed. Software now underpins financial systems, healthcare, transport, government services, and its trust infrastructure makes digital transactions possible. So thinking about the hyper-connected nature of today's world, where everyone is connected to everything all the time, when vulnerabilities appear, they don't stay local anymore. They can affect thousands of organisations at once. They can cascade across sectors and across borders, and in some cases they can create real-world impact. So regulators have now shifted position. Cyber resilience is no longer about trying to prevent attacks. It's about ensuring digital systems can withstand disruption, they can recover safely, they can limit damage. And increasingly, that expectation is becoming enforceable. Let's start with the EU. The Cyber Resilience Act, also known as the CRA, fundamentally changes how responsibility for software security is treated. The core message is simple. If you place a product on the EU market, you as a vendor are responsible for its security across the supported lifetime of the product, not just at launch, the entire product lifecycle. The Act applies broadly. It applies to software products, cloud services, connected devices, and importantly, security and trust services, including PKI and digital signature platforms. Products must be secure by design, secure by default, built using recognised secure software development practices, supported with vulnerability handling processes, maintained with timely security updates. Higher risk products may require formal assessment before CE marking. And suppliers must issue an EU declaration of conformity, formally stating that the product or service meets the Act's requirements. Security is no longer implied. It's documented, declared and subject to enforcement. Now the UK story is slightly different. For several years, the UK's main cross-sector cyber resilience legislation has been the Network and Information Systems Regulation 2018, or NIS for short. NIS focuses on operators of essential services and digital service providers. It requires them to manage cyber risk appropriately, take proportionate security measures, report significant incidents. But our digital dependency has grown. Threats have evolved, and the government have concluded that the framework needs strengthening. So instead of replacing NIS, the UK has been reforming and expanding it through the Cyber Security and Resilience Bill. At the time of recording this episode, this bill is progressing through the UK Parliament and is designed to modernise the 2018 regulation. The reforms aim to expand the organisations in scope to include things like managed service providers, data centres and critical infrastructure. Improved incident reporting, making it faster and clearer. Increase regulator oversight and enforcement powers. Strengthen accountability at senior management and board level. So while the EU focuses heavily on product level obligations, the UK continues to focus on organisational and operational resilience. It's less about CE marking, more about governance, accountability and demonstrable risk management. Different structure, different direction. But it's worth taking a step back and asking, why now? Why are governments formalising at this point in time? These laws didn't appear in a vacuum. They're a response to experience. Over the last decade or so, we've seen repeated examples of widely software components that have been distributed that have exposed thousands of organisations simultaneously. Trusted update mechanisms becoming compromised, turning routine patching and maintenance into a security incident. Products that have shipped without clear vulnerability response processes, leaving customers exposed long after they're deployed. In many cases, the issue wasn't bad intent, it was scale. Software today is globally distributed, deeply embedded and heavily relied on. When something foundational fails, the impact multiplies. And when trust services sit underneath identity systems, financial processes or public infrastructure, even a small weakness can have very broad consequences. What regulators are responding to isn't panic, It's maturity. Digital systems are now infrastructure. Infrastructure carries responsibility. Once you see it that way, the international picture makes sense. The EU and the UK aren't acting in isolation. In the US, cyber resilience is increasingly tied to government and disclosure, mandatory incident reporting for critical infrastructure, stronger expectations for public companies, and board-level accountability. In Australia, resilience obligations are embedded into critical infrastructure protection laws. For Singapore, systems deemed critical to national services operate under a structured oversight and mandatory reporting. For Canada, proposed legislation focuses on strengthening resilience in telecommunications and essential systems. In China, cyber resilience is closely connected to national security and data governance. The legal mechanisms may differ, but the direction is consistent. Greater accountability, faster reporting, life cycle responsibility, and much less tolerance for unmanaged risk in foundational systems. For vendors operating internationally, that convergence matters. Now let's bring this back to PKI digital signatures and authentication. Most software uses security. Trust platforms are security. They answer fundamental questions like, who is this? Has the data been altered? Can the transaction be relied upon years from now? If a trust platform fails, the effect doesn't stay contained. It cascades. That's why regulators are paying particular attention to cryptography, key lifecycle management, and signing infrastructure. Because these systems form the trust anchors for digital ecosystems, the very foundation for digital business. So what does this actually mean for PKI and digital signature platforms? Well, at a practical level, it means keys must be generated and properly protected, ideally backed by hardware, strong access controls, separation of duties, tamper-evident logging, clear vulnerability monitoring and remediation processes, secure update mechanisms, defined incident response and recovery planning. Any platform delivering trust services at scale should already operate this way. What's changed is the burden of proof. Under the EU model, that means formal lifecycle documentation, potential conformity assessment. Under the UK model, that means demonstrable governance, defensible processes and accountability. The engineering foundations may be the same, but the compliance evidence now matters just as much as the architecture itself. If you're delivering PKI or signature services, this isn't about panic, it's about maturity. Review things like your software development lifecycle, your key management architecture, your vulnerability processing, patch and update governance, incident reporting and handling, and product support timelines. And ask a simple question. If a regulator or a major customer asks you for evidence tomorrow, could you provide it clearly and confidently? Because increasingly they're going to ask. And in a cyber resilient world, trust isn't asserted, it's evidenced. Cyber resilience and digital trust are inseparable. Trust isn't just about strong cryptography. It's about confidence that systems remain secure over time, even when they're under stress. Secure by design, secure by default, secure across the life cycle. For trust platforms, the bar was already high. It's now explicit. So that's how I look at cyber resilience, the EU cyber resilience laws, how the UK's NIS is evolving and being reformed, and the global regulatory shift. And what that means for PKI digital signatures and trust services. The regulatory paths may differ, but the message is consistent. Resilience is no longer optional, it's structural, and, importantly, it's enforceable. If you'd like to learn more about Assertia's signing and trust services platforms and how they're engineered to meet these resilience expectations, please don't hesitate to get in touch with a member of our team. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon for another edition of Assertia On.